Yo, Schizo Jits here, recapping Johnny Walker versus Magomed Ankalaev UFC Fight Night, UFC 300 news and potential fights, DDP versus Sean Strickland Fight Week, UFC 297, and yeah, let's get into it. First off, a shout out to Jim Miller. Went out there and got a third round finish submission against Gabriel Benitez. The guy's had over 50 fights, called out. I mean, just the guy's the ultimate warrior, true freaking beast, savage fighter, always has been. And he called out from Paul Felder to Brock Lesnar for UFC 300. So hopefully UFC, puts Jim Miller on that card, that 300 Sparta card, because who else is more deserving? He called out Matt Brown as well, another savage, another guy who's definitely worthy. I'm not sure. I think Matt Brown is retired, and so is Paul Felder, but both of them have talked about fighting again, and any of those matchups will be insane. I mean, Jim Miller against either one of those guys. And then he got a performance for that. Performance of the night for Jim Miller. Amazing fight. Still looks great. If you're not on that level, grappling wise, striking wise, Jim Miller will take you out. If it hits the ground and you're not on that, like I said, if you haven't done your homework on the ground, you're gonna get tapped out. And he has, I don't know, 15, 16 submissions now, some crazy number, maybe more. He's up there. And then we had a great fight with Ricky Simone and Mario Bautista. That went 3 rounds, banger. Batista got the decision, just a little bit faster, a little bit busier, landing that straight left over and over again. Just kind of outworked Ricky Simone. It was a great fight. I mean, he was hitting hard. Both guys were throwing for the fences. Barn burner of a fight. I mean, just Batista did a little bit more and won a unanimous decision. I believe it was 29-28. Like I said, it was a good fight. Really exciting. And then Magomedov Ankalaev against Johnny Walker. This is the rematch. The first fight a few months back ended in controversy with an illegal strike from Ankalaev on Walker, so it became a no contest. But that they settled the score, and Ankalaev looked great. I mean, he didn't even really attempt takedowns at all. I don't believe it was just Johnny Walker did look good for the first round, a little bit over the round. Ankalaev afterwards was saying that he was kind of just trying to feel out what Walker was going to bring and what he had. What he was going to, basically what he was, see what he was going to do. Because, Johnny Walker always comes with some like crazy, kicks, and, he looked good. You know what I'm saying? He threw a couple axe kicks in there. I think he landed an axe kick, a lot like spinning shit, heel kicks, and, and did a question mark kick at one point. I mean, really, his kicking game is leveling up. They both battered each other's legs for as long as the fight took place, but Ankalaev, man, he's got some power, and he's really good. Like second round, he came out more just intent of closing the distance and putting pressure on Walker, and Walker didn't like that, so he was going backwards in that second round until Magomed just caught him clean, sat him down on the cage, and then came in with a kill shot with the right hand to just end it. Johnny Walker always has the weirdest knockouts when he loses, that one where he did it against Jamal Hill where he flew back, and then this one was kind of a little strange too, the way he was just sitting on the cage, and then Magomedov just came up and served him that last right hand to take him out. And then afterwards, Magomedov, in the post-fight, he did say that he was ready to turn around and fight UFC 300 against Alex Pereira, which we'll get to. So we'll see. He said, he told Glover Teixeira, who trains Alex Pereira, don't worry about wrestling. We're just going to stand up in this fight and all, but we'll see. Everybody says that until they get the first couple of leg kicks against Pereira. So, I mean, that overall, like Ankalaev, he solidified his title, really his shot. He's kind of next in line, but you got Jamal Hill, who was promised a shot, who never lost the bout, relinquished the bout after he got his Achilles heel. So, I mean, that's kind of like Dana, that maybe they have went back on their word before. Like if they really need a main event fight for UFC 300, maybe they will put Hill, because Hill said, I believe his time frame for being back was either May or June. So, I mean, that injury does take a long time to heal from. So, I mean, we don't know exactly when he will be ready. I don't think he'll be ready for UFC 300, but if he is, then obviously Jamal Hill will be next against Alex Pereira for the light heavyweight belt. But that's either going to be in April or it's going to be in May. I mean, who knows? Because there's rumors that it might even be the UFC 301 card just to give Jamal Hill longer to recover. And then you have Ramadan, so we're not sure how Ankalaev and Ramadan is like a week. UFC 300 starts a week after Ramadan, so he might be a little starved, or he's going to be fasting at that time for a week before fighting. But hey, I don't think you want to be fasting for fight week. You're not going to be at your best. But then again, I don't know. UFC and Dana White aren't the biggest Ankalaev fans after the Jan Blachowicz fight. Maybe they'll make that rematch to be who gets the next title shot after Jamal Hill. So, I mean, who knows? It kind of just depends on what they want to do for UFC 300. Are they still going to want to get, the best fight, a better fight for the main fight, which they're going to have to. They still need a main event. So far, UFC 300 is looking like Bo Nick, like as far as whether they're kind of set in stone or, they basically have put on the card. If you look it up, UFC 300, it's Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage, his next victim. Bo Nickel, they're bringing it up very slowly. Obviously, I mean, he's a superstar wrestler, 3-time national champ. I mean, unbelievable talent. And they are building him up slowly. They're giving him another guy, Cody Brundage, who's a good fighter. We'll see what happens with that. That's a good fight on the undercard, on the preliminary. Then you'll have Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling, which is also basically set for that, which is a good fight. This will be Aljo's first fight at featherweight, 145, and he said this is a permanent move. He's not going back down to bantamweight. We all know he cuts down from like 170 he was cutting from 170 to make 135. So now he's going to have a little bit less of a weight cut, 10 less pounds at 145, and we'll see how Aljo fares against Kattar, who's basically a seasoned veteran, great boxing, really defensive boxing, and just good on the feet. But Aljo, he's a superior MMA grappler for sure. Wrestling, jiu-jitsu, he mixes it just as good as anyone. He took down Henry Cejudo a couple of times and was able to, basically he kind of out wrestled Henry a few times in some instances when they fought. So that's a good fight. That's a good fight for Aljo to come up. Calvin stands a little tall, but definitely has power and great boxing. So, which definitely he'll have the advantage on the feet against Aljo, but Aljo will have a huge advantage in the grappling department. So we'll see how that one goes when that comes up. Excited for that fight. Cody Garbrandt, Davison Figueiredo at 135. That's going to be a freaking crazy fight right there. I mean, who does not want to see that fight? Regardless of Cody Garbrandt, chinny or not, a lot of people say he's looked great. He just got his knockout victory in his last fight, first round knockout. So, I mean, it's nice to see him get a reward on a big card like UFC 300, Sparta card, and what better card to showcase a freaking exciting, one of the most exciting fighters in UFC, regardless of his record, or he lost against TJ Dillashaw a couple of times by like brutal knockouts and stuff like that. Cody still is one of the most freaking exciting fighters out there, and he always brings this. Always an exciting fight, always a show. Maybe he'll use his wrestling, and honestly, a lot of people are just sleeping on him, thinking that this is like a win for Figueiredo. But if you think about it, Figueiredo is more of a sniper. So is Cody Garbrandt, but he's a lot. He could throw explosive combos really fast. I think he's going to have the speed advantage, wrestling advantage if he takes it there, so I mean, that's going to be a crazy fight. I can't wait for that fight. Honestly, that's fight of the night written all over it. 3-round freaking slugfest, hopefully. So I'll be rooting for Cody on that one, but I don't know. I mean, obviously Figueiredo is probably going to be a big favorite just because what he's accomplished since Cody went on a losing streak. But I mean, Cody, maybe he's just turned it around, new mindset. He got the big win in his last fight against Brian Kelleher, so by knockout. So, I mean, beautiful performance by Cody. And if he's back, then, you never know. Bantamweight, watch out, because he's got devastating power, both hands, explosive speed. So you can never count him out of a fight. Like the guys who gave him problems are guys who do have a good chin, who could freaking just trade blow for blow. The Pedro Munozes who almost unknockoutable, like really tough to finish and could take a shot, and heavy hands themselves. Those are the kind of guys that Cody had problems with. So that's remained to be seen, because Figueiredo don't have that style. Figgy's not really so much. He's more of a sniper himself, and he has a lot of devastating power himself and explosive, but he's not really in there one to sit in the pocket and and trade blow for blow like in a boxing type situation. So that's going to be a crazy fight right there. And then obviously Charles Oliveira against Arman Tsarukyan. That's going to be a number one contender for the a contender fight, number one for the lightweight strap. So we'll see on that, because also you got Justin Gaethje right there waiting in line as well. But Charles Oliveira does have a win over Justin, and Oliveira was scheduled to fight Islam before his injury. So Tsarukyan also had a close fight with Islam as well when they fought a few years back. So that's going to be a crazy fight right there. That's another one I have to break down later, but kind of almost leaning Arman. But on the feet, I would have to say Charles is light years ahead of Arman as far as just overall striking ability. It's just, he does get hit a lot and gets hurt a lot. So that's the thing. Arman, in the wrestling department, Arman should have an advantage there. But like we said, Oliveira has the most finishes in UFC history, one of the most exciting fighters out there. So that's definitely like a 50-50 type fight right there. Then we have Yuri Prochazka, who just came out and said that, Yuri Prochazka against Alexander Rakic, which is a great fight as well. And Yuri just came out actually today saying that he had a staph infection that he was battling against Alex Pereira, so he wasn't 100%. A lot of people out there giving him hate already, excuses, this and that. Would we have heard about it if he, won the fight? I mean, I don't know. I don't think he would lie about something like that, but same time, I mean, no matter what, staph or not, Alex hits like a truck and he got dropped. So, I mean, it was a good fight. Questionable, early stoppage and this and that. But this is a great fight right here for Yuri to get right back in there. If he gets a big win over Rakic, then he's right back in the title picture as well, even though we have Jamal Hill next and Ankalaev potentially after that. But, a couple more wins, Yuri's right back in there. And he's always exciting. He's always puts on a show, his unorthodox style and warrior spirit. Everybody always wants to see that. Then we have Weili Zhang against Yan Xiaonan, which is a good fight. Like, I know a lot of people were pissed off about the announcement from Dana White last week because he had everybody waiting, everybody on the edge of their seat, like for this big fight announcement for UFC 300 title fight. And it was the women's for the women's strawweight belt. And a lot of people were, hating on that. And I was one of them. I was kind of pissed too, kind of like, really? We need a bigger fight for the main event. And the card's still not done. There's still potential matchups that we could have. You know what I mean? Like, I think for sure, they would like to have Alex Poatan Pereira versus either Magomedov, Ankalaev, or Izzy even, or Hill for the lightweight belt. I mean, Izzy just came out recently and said he was injured, so who knows how long he's actually out for, or is he going to be good for UFC 300? It's arguable to say that Izzy doesn't really deserve a title fight in either division, middleweight or light heavyweight at this point, after coming off a loss. But with the history with Pereira and Izzy, there's definitely, they're 1-1 in MMA. So there's definitely that storyline that the UFC could build off of and give Izzy a shot, since he knocked out Alex Pereira the last time they fought at middleweight. So, that's definitely still a storyline that could be there. And I also think they might be waiting on the winner of DDP, Dricus du Plessis and Strickland this Saturday to see either for against Izzy as well in the middleweight. For the middleweight belt, they all three of them have history. Izzy and Strickland. Obviously, Izzy beat Strickland, basically shut him out 5-0 when they fought, knocked him on his ass even, which was really unexpected by pretty much everyone. Shocked the MMA world, taking Izzy's belt, and Dricus and Izzy go back to the whole South Africa, African connection type thing, that beef that they had. So, there's definitely a storyline with either of those guys against Izzy or Pereira. All three of those, or Poatan, Pereira. All three of those guys against Izzy, could make a UFC 300 main event. Let me know what you guys think. Who should be the main event at UFC 300? There's still an opportunity maybe to make a Gaethje BMF title fight against, whoever. I don't know. Conor, it seems like he's booked, but I don't know if that's actually set in stone yet. Conor said it was, but who knows? Maybe he comes in. Nate Diaz is out there without a contract. So is, Jorge Masvidal just unretired. So they could also make BMF 1 versus BMF 2. Unify that belt, so to speak. Gagey against Gamebred. Who wouldn't want to see that? Like I said, Nate Diaz is out there too. So I mean, there's still other other fights to make or potential matchups for UFC 300 out there. And I'm just saying, the next couple of weeks, I guess we'll find out more. I mean, personally, I want to see Alex Pereira on that card, but I mean, obviously, Jamal Hill won't be ready in time for UFC 300 unless he's making some type of miraculous, recovery, which maybe he is. I mean, I know for basketball that, when you get those injuries, or football, your year is done, your season's over. It might be different for fighting. Who knows? I mean, either way, you got to use those muscles, but it might be a little different. Maybe he'll get cleared a little faster. Maybe he'll be ready. Maybe they're saving that fight for International Fight Week. Maybe it's going to be in May. You got Ankalaev now. He said he's ready to go. Will he turn down that fight, Ramadan or not? I mean, who knows? Alex Pereira did Pereira. I keep saying Pereira because I want to say Poetan and Pereira. He came out today and basically called out Jamal Hill. Said he wants Jamal Hill first and then Magomedov, Ankalaev right after, and he wants a short turnaround, like less than a month between fights. So I'm not sure if that means UFC 300, like to fight Hill, or in May against Hill, and then International Fight Week against Ankalaev. I'm not sure. I mean, that's kind of crazy to say. Like, that's almost like you're looking past Hill, and I don't think that would be a smart thing to do. He's a very dangerous fighter, has a lot of power and a good chin. Never really seen him rocked in MMA yet. So that's kind of a tough one to just like look past and be like, all right, yeah, I want this guy, and then I want that guy. I mean, but Poetan, Alex Pereira is definitely a draw. I think he's a fan favorite. A lot of people do want to see him on that UFC 300 card, and that would definitely make that the best card, so far this year, because there's UFC 299 is even looking better than 300 in some people's eyes. You got Poirier coming back. I mean, you have Sean O'Malley and Chito. I mean, that's a stacked card as well. So I think they'll just continue to keep stacking UFC 300. They got to make this the ultimate Sparta card. UFC it has 300. I mean, that's crazy. It's crazy to believe that I've seen UFC 1, we're all the way up to almost at 300 now. That's insane. And with all the fight nights and everything else that's gone on as well, I mean, it's really like almost like 400 at this point. But as far as pay-per-views, that's crazy, Which brings us to Sean Strickland defending his title, his middleweight bout against Dricus du Plessis this Saturday, and that in Canada, in Toronto, Canada. The card isn't the most stacked card. We got some other notables on that. You got Neil Magny against Mike Mallet. Of course, they're going to throw in some Canadian fighters. We got Rocky Pennington against Myra Bueno Silva, which is a good fight. And Chris Curtis, he's going to be fighting Mark Andro Barrio. Definitely a Canadian fighter there. The return of Arnold Allen, that's going to be a good fight. He's always an exciting fighter to watch. And he's going against Movsar Avolov. I'm butchering all these names. But, yeah, anxious to see the return of Arnold Allen. Chris Curtis is always exciting. Great stand-up fighter, awesome boxing. Neil Magny, he's always up there. He's always hit and miss. Either he's right there. I won't say gatekeeper, but there's sometimes Neil Magny looks like he's just a world beater, like one of the best in the division. Other times, he doesn't always perform up to his potential, but he's always in some big fights, and it's interesting. But let's just talk about Dricus and Sean. This is the fight week. This is going to be crazy. I can't wait for the press conference on this one. I mean, they went back and forth a month ago at the fighters' seasonal press conference, and where they're going back and forth, and Dricus brings up that that Sean was abused by his father, and like saying, well, if your dad did that to you, your dad don't got shit on me. I mean, if your dad beat your ass, I'm gonna beat your ass 10 times worse. And Sean Strickland definitely took offense to that and got emotional. Went on as kind of I said it before. I mean, all due respect, Cry Me a River tour. He went on Theo Von and shed some tears there. Got emotional on Theo Von's show. I already talked about this, but it's kind of crazy, that to see Strickland, who is the ultimate male, and I'm real, man. Let's do the man dance, all that. Then he's going to come out here and cry on it. But, whatever, it's definitely a touchy subject. I don't think anything's off limits, all fair in love and war, you know. So, I mean, I don't think Dreykus is wrong. Personally, my personal opinion. Like, if you're going to talk about it, then it's open to talk about. Yeah, you don't want to talk about people's families for sure, wives, all that. Leave that out of it. But at the same time, it's like, especially if you're dishing it out, you got to be able to take it. And hopefully that's behind Sean, because I don't want to see him too emotional for this fight, because then he might try to do too much, and that might play into Dreykus's hands. Because Sean is usually a more patient fighter, works behind the jab, walks forward with the Philly shell defensive style with boxing, throws a lot of teeps, leg kicks, has good leg kicking. He checks leg kicks really well, so that, you know, you don't want him to overextend too much, because that would leave Dreykus open. Because Dreykus, he does overextend a lot. He does. I've been watching his fights. You know, he does overextend a lot. He takes a lot of chances, throw a lot of combos, throw a lot of long arms. He's got a lot. They both have a similar reach. They both actually have the same reach. They look at the tail of the tape. They're both 6'1", going to be 185 pounds, 76-inch reach. Dreykus is 30, Sean 32. So, I mean, that gets about as even as you can get for a title fight. But Dreykus definitely has big-time power and more explosiveness. Like, in every shot he throws is like to end the fight. You know, every single shot, you know, he's swinging for the fences. You know what I mean? He's looking for that knockout. He's looking for the kill. He has that kill or be killed mindset. Sean Strickland, he's more of a tactical, like, try to outwork you, outpace you, out cardio you type of fighter. He spars a lot, so I think that's why he's able to remain so calm in there and be able to kind of walk down and just, he kind of sees everything coming, because he's seen it all in sparring. He spars so much. Dreykus, on the other hand, is more explosive with every single movement he does, whether it's trying to take you down or trying to submit you, or his vicious ground and pound, or just on the feet. Everything's thrown with bad intentions and like 100%. Maybe not 100%, but it sure looks that way. And he does leave himself exposed a lot with that, with his reaching. But he is constantly throwing, so it's going to keep you on the defensive. Sean's a great counter puncher, but at the same time, if you got, instead of just 2 punches, you're countering, you're parrying, and then counter, now you got 3 or 4 to worry about, and they're all heavy shots. Then you're going to have to stay a little bit more defensive, responsible, you know, a little longer, and it's that 3rd or 4th shot that might land and do some damage. And then the difference between Strickland, like Usman, I mean, Strickland has great takedown defense, you know, so, but the thing is with Dreykus, if he gets you up against the cage or gets a position to take you down, he's not just trying to hold you down and lay on you or even pass guard or whatever. He's trying to land some bombs, you know, heavy elbows, heavy shots. I mean, and just make you make a mistake, and then force you to make a mistake, and then try to get the submission there. He has a great submission game. We haven't really seen too much of Strickland's wrestling or submission game. He is a black belt, I believe, you know, training over at Extreme Couture. I mean, he definitely is a savage for sure. So we haven't seen his whole game, because usually he uses wrestling kind of just to get back up. Like, his takedown defense is amazing. You know, it's great. So, but he is able to get back to his feet most of the time and defend everything. But we haven't seen him, you know, in those situations a lot, because he kind of just uses it just to get up and keep the fight standing. Dreykus is a huge middleweight. Both these guys have fought at welterweight before at 170. So for as bigger, as much, you know, Dreykus looks way bigger. Like, you know, he looks like a freaking tank in there, but he's also fought at 170. So how much bigger could he be? He just carries a lot of muscle, which is crazy that he has such good cardio. He hasn't been in as, you know, Sean Strickland definitely has more, you know, experience in 5-round fights and able to pace himself, I guess, also with, like I said, with the sparring. So, I mean, definitely a lot of sparring. So, I mean, he could stay more composed, and he's not throwing a lot on all his shots. He throws a lot of jabs, a lot of range finders. I don't want to say pity pat, but point. You know, he's winning by points on the most part. So I think if it goes past 3 rounds, it could favor Strickland. You know, if he's walking him down and able to do that. No one's ever really been able to back Dreykus up at this point. You know, he pretty much goes forward all the time, and like I said, he throws a lot. He throws a lot of strikes with reckless abandon, you know, and that could put him in trouble to get taken down himself. But I'm not sure Strickland wants to go there. I don't think Strickland's going to initiate the wrestling and grappling game, because Dreykus is a big, strong guy. It's going to take a lot of energy to try to hold that guy and take him down. And I don't think that's something that Strickland will want to do to his own gas tank. I think he will want to just keep it on the feet where he's more efficient and he's, you know, dictating the pace. So if anything, I think Dricus might try to initiate takedowns more. And if he gets the takedowns and lands some brutal ground and pound, then that could be tough right there. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think. So far, I'm leaning Dricus barely. You know, I got him a slight edge. I'll probably do another video with my last pick. But, yeah, I'm definitely leaning Dricus at this point. Barely, though, just because of explosiveness and because we haven't seen much of Sean's wrestling yet, and I think we will. But I do believe if it goes past 3 rounds, that's going to favor Strickland. And let me know what you guys think on that. Who are you guys picking? Who do you want to see in UFC 300 as the main event? Do you want Alex Bahia in there? Do you want the winner of DDP and Strickland to go against Izzy or Khamzat? He's also in the mix. Supposedly he was promised a title shot. Who knows? But, yeah, that's all I got. Like, subscribe. See you next time.